Hey guys, it's Matt from Bullion Now, and this is the first in hopefully a range of interviews that we'll be doing with various stackers and collectors around the world. And I'm joined here today by a gentleman who I've referenced in a previous video, and he is the culture of currency. How are you going?
Oh, we're good up here. It's very nice, given all of the crazy things going on in the world, just to be able to have conversations with people. So that's real nice.
It is indeed, and what a wild world we live in, where you're on the other side of the world, but we can still have a conversation like this.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was talking to my wife today that it was outrageous thinking that today where I'm at, it's Friday, and where you're at, it's Saturday. Like that
Really?
blows my mind. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock at night over here, and it's noon the next day for y'all.
Well, greetings from the future.
Yeah, I hope it's nice. Tell me some good news.
Yeah, well, the sun's out. So far, so good. That's the best I can do. So my first question for you is a bit of a two-part question. And it is, how did you start in your coin collecting journey? And what was your motivation to start the YouTube channel?
Sure, sure. So I guess the roots have to go back to my childhood. My grandmother grew up in the Great Depression here in America. So 1930s, real poor agriculture people. And so she always would collect coins and things like that as a child. And she would make books for us when we were growing up. And so when I would visit her, we'd be going through all of these different pennies, quarters, you name it, looking for things we needed. And she would also do stamps. She had stamp collection, which that was the cheapest thing you could do to actually have a hobby back then, was just pull the stamps off of things that were being discarded by businesses, get the stamps off the paper and start sorting them. So I had a outrageous affinity for the artwork and the stories and cultures within stamps and coins from America and around the world. And so when I had children, I guess 4 years ago, my first one was born, right close to 4 years. I, wanted to piddle a little bit, but I had to define what would it be that I could do. And so I wanted to be a little bit unique. So I didn't just follow the coattails of my grandmother. And so I said, well, we have the artwork and we have coinage. Why don't we go into silver? And so silver is kind of where I landed because whenever my wife said, hey, you should post your journey on YouTube or whatever and see if it makes money, I'll say, okay, well, I can try that. So as all things do, money got to be a part of this, but I had to define how I wanted to do this. And so for me, I had to sacrifice a little bit in order to show what my journey is. And so in doing that, I have limited myself to no purchases over approximately $100. Every single month, I will only spend around $100, and whatever that gets me is whatever it gets me, so that anybody who sees my channel on YouTube 3 years from now and sees this giant collection of world silver can say, I can do that, right? Sure, I could be like all these other people and show an unboxing of $10,000, but it doesn't make that attainable for a 13-year-old to say, that's cool, I can do that. So for me, I want to step foot into something that I didn't see existed, which is making this an attainable thing for all people to see all types of cool culture, art, history within these coins, because I find that coinage in general, whether it's silver or just standard coinage, shows these stories of people and nations and nature. And oftentimes all we get caught up in is how much does it worth? How much is the value of it? And so that's why I kind of made the channel. And then one day, everything I have will be split up between my two kids, and they will get to know the stories. When they look at this coin from Rwanda, they're going to know about the baskets that, are very important to the culture. They're going to know about their ethnographic museum. They're going to know so much more than just, this is a coin that's worth $60 at that time or whatever it is. So that's the biggest part, is that it's going to start a conversation where anytime a country is brought up that they've researched through these coins, they're going to have more than just that's what their flag looks like. So that's kind of the nutshell of why I started and the passion that I have in what I do. The silver is great. I love that it has value, and any hobby that holds value, two thumbs up, because almost all of them, it's just a pit. So that was another thing. I had to sit there and think, well, if I did this in 20 years and 30 years and 40 years, if something crazy were to happen, in the market, whatever, traditionally, this would shoot up and be able, if something crazy happened, to be sold off to sustain us through whatever happens, because statistically in America, the biggest market drops are around 13 months or less. So as long as I had something to hedge, so I didn't have to pull out from retirement or market stocks or anything like that, then it would serve that purpose. But hopefully nothing will ever happen and they'll get to enjoy these when they're old.
That's incredible. And you've answered several of my questions in one. So I was going to ask at some point what your intention was with your stack. If at a point you had, like there are a lot of people out there that have a set spot price that they intend to liquidate a portion of their collection, but it sounds like you've already got that all set in terms of passing it down to your kids. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to pass this down so that not only do they have something that they think is valuable, but it also shares so much more. They're going to know about a little bitty channel island called Alderney. They're going to know about, these little bitty specks in the Caribbean that people live on. It's not just Montserrat that a volcano exploded. It's the cultures and how, UK had to take these people in because their island had just been blown up. I mean, it's so much more. So it's very exciting on that avenue.
Very good. And is there a particular coin that stands out to you in your collection, which we're getting a nice little view of now? Is there one coin in particular, or perhaps a mint or a country that holds a special place in your heart?
Oh man, I guess from a beauty standpoint, the mint that I have been blown away with the most, every single thing I've had from them is quality, is Korea.
Oh,
The
okay.
Comsco mints. These little Comsco mint coins have the most detail. They have the most interesting texture. The clouds on this Chiwu, for example, I've never seen anything like it in silver. They have really cool that we see now in, the Britannias, the little security features. But whether it's that or the Phoenix, I have, I think, 2 or 3 from them, and all of them are top-notch quality. It's not to say others aren't. Obviously, Perth is great. I'm not big fans of this, for example. I
Really?
love Lunars, but this one I didn't rate very high, and that's because of all the negative space that I think could have been used more effectively. Do we have a dog? Yes, but when it comes to Lunars, I like to see something. Let me see if I have my current favorite lunar coin. Compare it to this. What we have
Oh,
is a
yes.
scene, right? We have the ox, and in the traditional story, you have to cross the river to get to the Jade Palace. So we actually get a scene from what was going on, and we have a traditional Asian ox versus a cow, right? If we're going to go with the tradition, we should probably do it as best as possible. We even have what kind of looks to be a moon here, which makes sense with the lunar. And what I love is this. How awesome is to have the exact cycle, so you can look at this and tell where are you at this particular point and what's next. So we get to look forward to the tiger, and something that I know over there, it probably feels different to y'all than it does to us, but to have the queen on 80% of everything that's silver, this feels balanced to me. Whereas this feels like queen, 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 which it probably does feel different to y'all because, that is your, for not monarch, but you're basically your prime minister for the entire kingdom. And so I get it, but it's just so crazy when I see all these Caribbean islands and its queen, where they could have used something from that culture that tells a story of those people. And, sure, had a little bit of queen on there, but done a little bit better job. So, for example, here's another one. They have the queen, great, but they also brought in the Inukshuk and the Olympics, right? You get to tell the story that ties in that, yes, the queen is there, but it's not everything. And there's another Olympic coin right here, like they did with the maple. I thought that was beautiful, right? So they did that there. And in this one, we have little maples around the Thunderbird. there's ways to tie in what you're trying to do to the cultural feel. And so that's why these are probably the only coins I own from Australia that I do not like. These two, this pig and dog. And the only reason I got those is because this is the lunar animal for my son, and this one is for my wife.
Ah, lovely. And you would be surprised
So,
with how many people come through the Bullion Now doors and have a similar view when it comes to the representation of the Queen. And
sure.
one of the really popular coins, which you've also done a video on, was the 30th anniversary of the Kookaburra.
Oh,
And that
yes. One
was
of my
a big
favorites.
hit for that reason as well. It was a really nice throwback to the original
Yes.
Kookaburra design with a shrunken down effigy of the Queen there. So I,
Yeah.
I think that sentiment is echoed with a lot of the stacking community, even in Australia.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to have her there. I get it. But if this isn't your standard, quarter that you used at the gas station or whatever, then does it need to have that provenance when you could be highlighting something that says, come visit this country, right? For someone sees this and they say, I need to go there and spend my tourist dollars. I feel like it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take on it. I've never heard it put in such a succinct manner. It's often just people that are anti-royalists, and it ends at that. But I
Sure.
think you raise a very valid point and something that, who knows, maybe we could communicate that somehow to the mint,
Yeah.
get a
Yes.
new movement
Beautiful.
going.
Look what they did here. It's
Yeah,
perfect. It's perfect. You don't have negative dead space. Everything has a purpose there. And this coin in particular, I'm sure you have a million of these. It plays off the light like nothing I've seen. It is absolutely ridiculous in how the light plays off this coin.
yeah, that's the second in the series, right? You've got the little platypus privy mark there. I
Yes,
think we're just about to sell out of those. I was very excited to have been responsible for getting those into the store, and they've been a big hit.
it's beautiful. I didn't know because online you can never see the luster. And so
Yeah.
when that one came in, that was probably one of the most impressive differences I have.
What's it like over in the States when you're getting these coins from all over the world? Are you just going through your local coin shop, or are you predominantly getting these online? What's your
Sure.
main avenue?
Sure. So this is kind of what I do. We have AppMex, which is located in Oklahoma. It's in the middle of the country, so it's really good for distribution. I get packages a couple of days after I order. So it's really nice from there. But yeah, they have a selection of coins from literally around the world. Everything you see here, with the exception of maybe 6 coins, I got from them. Another one here in the States is Scottsdale Mint. And Scottsdale has a contract with so many of these smaller nations. They do all of the EC8 coins in the Caribbean. They do a lot of the coins, just in smaller areas that wanted to do this. They do some of the African coins, Samoa, things like that. So I did one order from them. And the cool part about that is that if they, for example, have a mint of 50,000, but only 35,000 have been ordered, then I can go and order a 2017, like this one right here. I ordered years after it was minted, and it was minted the day I ordered it, or within
Really?
that order.
Yeah.
So because it had taken a while, and they said they were going to be minting these because they haven't met their quota yet. And so this is a 2017, and that is the Great Wave of Fiji, which is absolutely stunning. So that
That,
was
that
cool to
that video
have
was
freshly
particularly
minted coins.
interesting. I did like your feature on that coin. I learned a lot, as I do with all of your videos. They're really, really informative.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know a little bit going into these. Some of these I don't know where I'm gonna get to by the time I'm done. Like, you have no idea where the rabbit hole is gonna go. And this is another one that's like that. That Imperial Dragon. The connections of China and many of the African nations is a little bit frightening, right? And I never would have known that if I didn't track the economics and the global policies and all of that. But yeah, it's just nuts.
Yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Very, very deep. So, did you have an interest in history and all of that type of the rabbit holes that you go down in this industry are very deep. Was it something that you had an interest in prior to getting into the stacking business?
It absolutely is. I am very much a fan of nature. Everything I do is probably connected to nature in some way with intention. And part of that is the human condition, the human experience. And so when I see, stories, I want to know more about them. I want to know about the people who are affected. I want to feel a piece of what they feel, so that if ever I meet somebody from Tanzania or Rwanda or wherever, I can at least communicate a little bit of an understanding of where you come from, where I am, and, make that a cool process for both parties. But history ties everything together. And we as humans who write history, we're kind of the glue in the network in between anything that's not just your natural history. So I find the more I study people as well and their stories, the more everything else becomes clear.
Absolutely. Very, very interesting take on it. And I'm also curious, with the sizable stack that you've begun to accumulate, do you have any
Sure.
advice for anyone who may be on the fence about getting into collecting silver coins?
Yeah, I mean, everything you see here, this is probably a couple $1,000s worth. I did it over just about a year with no more than, like I said, $100 a month. And sometimes I took months off just because life was crazy, and that's fine, right? You're not trying to go crazy and think the world is burning. You're in a good position to just take your time. It's okay to start small, but my biggest recommendation is to start with a why. Why is this something you want to do? Why is it important to you? And is that why relevant? Because when things get tough, that why is going to be the only reason that keeps this a priority for you. And if you don't have it, it's just going to sit on a shelf one day or just go to a pawn shop. So if you don't have why, it's really for naught.
Very, very well put. I've always been such a big fan of the your, your your choice of words and the way you present information. I find it to be really enjoyable. Where I've acknowledged in the past that there's a lot of information, particularly on YouTube, that is very intense, and it creates a sense of panic and urgency
Sure.
around accumulating silver coins and things like that. But I think it's refreshing to see a take on it as a hobby, as opposed to
Sure.
purely an intense wealth preservation. There is a lot of enjoyment and information that can be gained out of this hobby, which is something that I had a background in. Being a numismatist, I was dealing
Sure.
primarily in those collectible coins. That's something I'm curious about as well. Do you have any of coins of that nature, like numismatic coins, as opposed to silver coins?
I have a ton. They're not out here right now, but I have a ton of, old constitutional silver and stuff that grandma had. I mean, I can't tell you. I probably have a couple hundred Kennedys. I probably have, however many Eisenhowers and old Benjamin dollars. I've got a lot of that stuff just because, over the years, they just kind of stuck in a box somewhere. So I've got stuff like that. I've got a lot of world coins. I have, I think, 171 nations of just little coins from all over that are really no value, but they each tell a story. One might have a conch shell on it, or one might have a platypus, or, you name it. But each does tell a story about, that place. And some of them, I have no idea where they're from because they're all in Arabic, or, it's going to take me a little bit of time to be able to sort through these and say, this for sure is from Azerbaijan, or this for sure is from, India, or whatever, based on the characters that I'm not quite as familiar with. And when you have borrowed characters, such as the Greek, has very similar characters to some of the old Russian coins, it becomes sometimes hard for me to decipher which is which if you don't have a full selection of the alphabet.
Absolutely. I've had to tap into that resource. My fiance is Egyptian. I've had a number of
Wow.
conversations with her mother to clarify some legends in the past, but I know exactly what you mean, but it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. But I find that that's some of the coolest stuff. This is a 1901 Morgan dollar. Who's to say how many hands this changed, and how many, last meals or things that this provided that saved a family? I mean, that's a long time and a lot of hardship that went through that particular era.
And you've also got a program, I guess you'd call it, with your intentions of the monetization of your channel. Maybe you could explain that.
Yeah. So my goal is to make this not just attainable, but something that people want to do, because I find the more companies, if we're talking about business as it is, the more dollars that can be spent making money for these mints, because there's such more demand for these, better artwork, fresher designs. The more attainable this is going to be as a conglomerate. And what we might see is that of the, let's say, 890 metric tons that were mined in America of silver, a bigger share might be used for things like bullion, and things that can create a bigger market. They make more money because they sell more. We get to get more coming in. You as a business get to sell more as well. But it just develops this into something that is more than fear, because fear is one of the best motivators for selling, but it's not necessarily the most ethical. And so I find if you can come about this honestly, that, you might actually be able to make something that is enjoyable, that could literally save lives. If they lose their job or they have health problems or whatever, they could resort to selling what they have and not having to sell the farm. So that's all well and good. But yeah, my channel, my monetization, is something that my wife says I have to have, because it takes time away from the family. The research that I do, it sometimes takes me over a week to do a video the way I want to do it, partially because I don't really know what I'm doing, but the research alone is long. But yeah, it's the idea that 10%, biblically, 10% of what you make is supposed to go back to the church and that type of thing. And since this is not my main job, I find that I want to give 10% back to the people who decide I'm worth their time, right? So if I make, let's say, $400, that means that $40 is going to be used to reinvest into the community, which means somebody might be walking away with a new 1 ounce, whatever. By that same token, if I make, let's say, 4,000 in a month, that means $1,000 can be used in multiple ways. Maybe I go buy me an ounce of silver if it's crazy low for some, or gold if it's crazy low, or maybe I buy a bunch of ounces of silver and divide. I'm not sure. But the idea is that no matter what, I will post a video monthly of this is what YouTube is sending me, or however they do it. I don't even know yet. And then share that with the viewers and say, that means that you should be expecting a video that says, I'm buying something for this much for you. So it might be that 13-year-old boy who says, man, this looks really cool, I just don't know where to start. Well, guess what? I'm starting it for you. Your first coin is coming from me, right? Whatever it is. So that's the idea. And I find, not that, sure, if this ends up being enough to where I can do this full time, then that's going to be a lot of money going into the community. And the phase 2 of my channel would be to go to places like the Perth Mint and show you the lady on the line who packs the bag when it goes out the shipping door, and say she has a name and a face, so that when you see this, know that she's a part of the process, so that she really loves, seeing how much we love her in our community for doing that little job, right? Or going to Nashville, Tennessee and saying, hey, you want to come to Nashville? Here's 3 coin shops that you need to check out, right? Come visit. Here's one here, here's one here, here's one here. I'm doing a video on each to talk about why you should go to this store, what you should expect, so that you make the best job in investing for your own collection. Know where you want to go. So finding different areas of the world where I either check out mints or check out places to buy this stuff from, so that the community knows that, yes, you can do this anywhere, with the exception of maybe some war zones. So
Yeah.
That's kind of the big picture down the road. If I make this a huge thing, then the whole goal is to make it more attainable for everybody. If it pays the bills, great. But that's the idea. How do I make this something that everybody not only wants to do, but can do?
Perfect. Well, I look forward to the day when you can come on down to Melbourne in Australia and do an episode on Bullion Now. We can have a chat in person.
Oh, yeah. That would be great. The only problem with that is that, from what I understand, everything that can kill you lives in Australia.
This is true.
Snakes. I don't understand. Like, why? Spread them out. Throw some in, Europe. No, you have all of them. Why? And then you're protected by sharks. Like, it's its own battlefield.
Yeah, just take a look at our coins. There's plenty to demonstrate the dangers here.
This doesn't even live there, but it'll attack you. Come on, Australia.
I will take very good care of you. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, I need one of these. This is my attack bird right there.
Oh,
He'll
yeah.
take care of that brown snake.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's perfect. Thank you very much for taking the time to have a chat. Everyone go on and give the Culture of Currency a like and a subscribe. Also, the Bullion Now channel that you're watching this on. Give us a like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, as Joe says. And we look forward to bringing you more content of this nature, hopefully some more interviews and things like that. Let us know if there's anyone that you'd like to see interviewed on the channel, and give us your thoughts on this video. We look forward to seeing and hearing more in the future. Thank you very much.